was the first man on the moon. There he discovered the Selenites, a vicious warrior civilization from beneath the surface of the moon. My mother was queen, but her kingdom turned against her. She escaped with my father back to Earth. Now she is dying. The moon holds the cure. And only I can save her. Hello, everybody out there on the internet, and welcome to Demajen Tries Moon Raider Take 2. Take 2, you ask? What's Take 2? You don't do first impressions videos again. Well, I forgot the first rule of indie game development recording, didn't I? When I recorded this yesterday, I spent about 50 minutes playing Moon Raider yesterday. I recorded an entire video on it, and my first impressions were kind of mixed. And they were kind of mixed because something felt off. What did I forget to do? What did I think about pretty much as whilst I was lying in bed this morning? It's 11:30 in the morning on the 12th of November. No, 12th of September. It's the second time I've done that this week. I forgot to limit the frame rates because I'm a muppet. It's the first rule of gaming on my rig. If an indie game feels slightly off because of how the camera moves or how pacing happens or something like that, it's usually because the in-game engine hasn't properly capped itself to a certain frame rate. You remember old games that didn't used to be able to get up to high frame rates, and therefore if you play them on modern hardware, everything was really, really sped up for some stupid reason. I feel like Moon Raider does this, just like the Mummy Demastered does it. If you don't cap the frame rate, certain things in the engine don't work properly. Now, I've tested it on the level that I got to yesterday, which was level 3-5, and it seems to feel better. Whether it's going to change my overall impression of the game, I don't know. A second thing that has already changed my impression of the game, one of the things that I commented on in my first take of this was context. Why are we doing what we are doing? And it's because whilst I was setting things up, I'd managed to skip that introductory cutscene with that little bit of information about who our character is, though we don't know her name, and why she's doing the things on the moon that she is doing. So it's not much in the way of context, but every little helps. So just to show you, it doesn't show you the time or anything, but it shows you that I've got to zone 3-6 just from having a little bit of a play around with the game and the frame limiter settings. So this is set to 60 FPS. These are our options still. Yeah, we've got full screen on or off. We've got a suite of resolution options up to, for me, 1440p at 143 Hertz, which is the max on my monitor. We've got a big ass volume slider with one single volume control. Even down below, I'm probably gonna have to fix this audio in post because I can see it up at probably minus 30 decibels. No, minus 25. It's almost clipping into the yellow on OBS for those of you who've used OBS before. So we're going to take this from the top and see whether the change is noticeable. So my biggest initial complaints about the game was that the double jumping felt off because of how fast the camera snapped to the player. And I suspect that is because the camera was working at an unlocked frame rate. Because It definitely feels better now. If I can, I'll overlay some footage in the corner. Energy source detected. Right, so this is kind of the first boss, which I'm going to screw up entirely. Just like that. Oh. I think we've broken him. Oh, this isn't good. Yeah, we've clipped him at the bottom of the world. Oh dear. That's not a great start. Didn't have that problem the first time through. Keep in mind, this is an indie game made, I think, either by a very small team or a single person. Must remember, I can double jump. There we go. And whee! So one of the issues that I had with the game's presentation as it stands is that I just wasn't sure what these gems that we're collecting are. You can see in the top left-hand corner that there is a health gauge and there is a gem percentage counter. And it doesn't at any point in the opening of the game tell you what it's for. Now, I know now, because I've played further, that the gems power at least the one special ability that I got by level 3-6. I'd only got one, which was a dash maneuver. Which was quite cool, actually. The dash maneuver, I liked it. Yes, that's exactly the type of gem we need to save your mother. Find 200 of those. So that's our objective for the game as a whole over how many levels there are. Yeah, I think the camera is tied to the frame rate, which is why it was being so iffy. It seems more fluid and smoother now in comparison to what it was before. There are a couple of things, however, that I don't think having this slightly smoother camera is going to change. But they don't come until later levels. So we've got some health pickups. We've got lots of these nice little switch things. Right, there was an issue that I had. So you saw when I hit the switch, I could still jump up, but then it put me into like a mini cutscene style thing where the camera panned down to that door. And the thing is, it doesn't pause your character. You've still got control over them. And I fell afoul of this several times when I managed to drop myself into a pit because the game didn't pause. Now, it's only brief, so you can't get super far, but because you're not invincible during this time, you can still take damage if you happen to walk into an enemy that realistically you can't see. And I kind of feel that when camera control is taken away from you, not everything is as it seems here. Like that wall behind me. Your suit absorbs more damage now. Obviously, I found that without his help, realistically, because it's fairly obvious signposting. And from what I could tell, all of the kind of secret-y... I've only found 2, admittedly. Yeah, from what I could tell, all of the secret walls in the game are fairly clearly signposted along those lines. Go this way. Yeah, the game definitely feels a little bit smoother with the frame rate capped to 60. That's still a little bit buggy. So, I've used Reaver Tuner to cap my frame rate. Use whatever normal software that you'd use, but it's definitely feeling better with the camera. That much I will say. And that was really didn't feel great. I found a bug at that door, I believe it was originally. I'll put some footage of that over the top of this as well, so you can see the amusingness. We go back out and in to reset things. Oh, yeah, there we go. Well done. Bugged it. It's the transition in that door isn't quite right. Interesting, those switches stay flipped. And that's going to tie into actually one of my biggest critiques of the game in terms of what is permanent and what is not. In World 3, there are insta-kill lasers. You touch them, you die. At least I assume they are insta-kill. It could be that the damage that they did was tied to the frame rates, which would be a daft decision, to be fair. But it is possible. Now, if that's the case and they're not insta-kill, my feedback on them isn't so bad. But when you die, the level resets. The room that you are in resets completely. And every single thing that you have picked up, you have to collect again. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that, realistically. But I'm especially not a huge fan of that because of insta-kill lasers. And as I said, if they're not insta-kill anymore, not as bad. If they are still insta-kill, it's a little bit of an iffy design decision, in my opinion. Ow. I think there were 2 of them stacked on top of each other. Now, whilst I've got much more... Ooh, that was some of the slightly iffy camera control there. Now I've got a little bit more context to what is going on, i.e. we're collecting these things to save our mother. It helps. What is going on there? Some of the things... I think the hitbox of the character is a little bit off. Also, a thing to note, if you just single jump, you can keep on shooting. If you double jump, you can't, because she goes into a forward flip animation. Yeah, I kind of feel like the hitbox on the character is a little bit off. Can you see how we now appear, despite the fact that we pulled the plug there? I think that needs to be fixed. I think that feels wrong. That ability to move while the camera control is taken away from you. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things, and I said this in my feedback of the game. Obviously, this version of the video is going to be a lot quicker because I've already played through all these levels. But my feedback, realistically, was really nice art style, catchy music, even though I didn't necessarily know what was going on, because I hadn't seen that intro sequence before. You know, I got the idea that we were raiding the moon just from the title, so that wasn't a terrible issue. Oops. What these gems were for was realistically my biggest concern at this point in time, because there's oops. Yeah, we keep hitting things that keep us spinning. I think that's oops. I think that's probably an issue to do with state machines and whether the ground counts as ground or not. See, we're in a different place because I was already jumping away. That, I think, needs to be fixed. So we've got to collect 200 of these gems to save Mom. It's a pretty basic idea. Can't drop down through platforms, incidentally, so you do have to go round. Now, there should be a boss here. Yeah. This boss gives us... Aha! Beauty Challenger! Wait, you're loaded with gem energy, and you don't even know how to use it. Now, obviously, I've defeated this boss already, so I know how to kill him. He does 3 dashes. Oh. Didn't quite jump fast enough there. I do feel like the hitboxes are off. You can see when... Yeah, you see how we were able to start fighting then, even though he was in the middle of talking. And you can see his hitbox extends beyond... But it doesn't... I don't know. It doesn't seem to be on both sides, and it doesn't seem very consistent. You see how it's... I think he's just... Bollocks. I think he's just got a square hitbox. Rather than having kind of pixel-perfect collision. You can hold down the shoot button, and there doesn't seem to be any penalty for doing so. So you may as well just keep it held, I think. You see how that's not even touching him? There he goes. He did. And... Incredible. You can now dash like the dead brutes. Hold the extra and B button to dash. Okay, so this is where the game becomes slightly more interesting. Now, in my original video of this, I came to the conclusion that unfortunately the game is a little bit basic. By level 3-5, there wasn't a huge amount of interesting mechanics. Mostly because as soon as we got the dash, that's kind of it. At least so far. Now, one thing that I will say is that the dash feels a bit odd. And I'll probably end up inadvertently showing you what I mean by that as we go. But sometimes you'll dash sideways like this. I think it's if you double jump. Yeah, I think it might be for double jump. I feel like things are ever so slightly slower now that we've dealt with the frame rate issues. Right, I missed this area. I saw it when I was editing back the footage. But I missed it when I was playing it the first time. It's just a gem room by the look of it, but it's yeah, bonus room 2 found. So it's not that you can't see it. It's just that I was in the middle of talking about the first boss, and I just, you know, just missed it. So we now know that the gem meter is there to power our dash. And as far as I can tell, that's all it's for. Now, other things that the game doesn't tell you is that the dash can be used to kill enemies. Because it basically makes you invincible, as far as I can tell. And since everything basically drops gems, you know, you could use it quite liberally. Another thing that I contemplated about while I was playing this was the nature of the screen size. We feel quite zoomed in. And I do kind of feel a little bit too close to the action. It feels more like it's designed for a smaller screen. And I contemplated actually playing the game in a window. Because I just feel like I'm a little too close. And on a 27-inch monitor, which is what I'm using, everything just feels a little bit too close and zoomed in. It's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker. But I definitely feel too close. Whoa. But yeah, the game definitely feels a good chunk better Oh, there's a thing there. Yeah, it definitely feels a chunk better with the frame rate caps. So if you are having issues, do that. Oh. So sometimes you seem to get stuck in your jumping. But anyway, I think by now you've got a reasonably good idea of what the game is offering to start off with. It's nice to look at. The music's catchy. The sound effects aren't overwhelming. Yes, it's a little bit too zoomed in for my taste, but you might be fine with it, especially if you're playing it on like the Switch or something, which I assume it's coming out on. This does seem like a great kind of game design for the Switch. Oh. I do like the rather open nature of the levels. Ow. You know, the levels have clearly been well thought through because they have to be. When you've got a game that requires you to have gem power in order to access your special move, your maneuverability tool, and you need that maneuverability tool to get across gaps and stuff, you know, you've got to make sure that you've got the stuff in place for fear of soft locking your player, and that never feels good. Oops. Just ran into the lava then. But I think the dash makes you invincible to everything. I found this with the lasers. So realistically, you could just dash your way through everything and not have to worry about the slightly off aiming mechanics. And they are slightly off. They feel a little bit janky when you're trying to line up a shot. But even that is actually better than it was before. Now that I've capped the frame rates. I just feel like that was the source of quite a lot of my issue with the game. More energy? Was this? No. Holds more gems. Oh, yeah. More gem energy. I don't know how that's actually reflected in game. I don't think the percentage goes over 99. Hooray! Yeah, taking the camera away, yet not taking our control away, feels really weird. I don't know if it's an oversight or intentional. Second boss time. Obviously, I've done this as well. Beat him first try. Don't know whether I'm going to do the same here. Oh. No, I'm not, because that didn't happen last time. I landed on him last time and just bounced on over to the other platform, as you might expect. That's quite a harsh final thing there. Now, we don't seem to get a power-up from this guy. So, I don't know whether he counts as a boss or a mini-boss or what. Why did I not land on that platform? Oh, we have to face the boss again. And therein lies my biggest complaint with the game. That certain things just aren't saved. Oh, I jumped then. I pressed the button and everything. And this was where my frustrations with the game began. They're having to do everything over and over again, despite already beating it, because of how the game's save system works. It doesn't save you having defeated bosses. Really? And it's having to do things over and over again when you've already done them fine that feels bad. Yeah, I feel like that should come up earlier. That platform on the right. There we go, so you can land on it. Okay, so this is World 3. Got to World 3 before. Is it still got the weird issue where it's... Oh, interesting. It's not doing it this time. When you got to the end of that platform on my first playthrough, I'll put, again, footage of this up in the corner. It had got this weird issue where it was just rocketing me into the air for no apparent reason. I need some more gems. Now, this level was one of the first to really annoy me. I've actually had, oddly, a little bit less of a smooth playthrough up until this point, as I had originally. Don't know why. Incidentally, those things in the corners are spikes, but the hitboxes on them are kind of weird. So don't be thinking that you can go too close to them. Ah, now that's the thing that annoyed me as well. If you hit that switch there and you're in the air, it will take away directional control left and right, but you'll still drop. It's very, very strange. It just needs to pause everything. And it doesn't. I can't remember. How do I shut off this energy beam? Somewhere down below. Okay, so the lasers are still insta-kill. And herein is going to be the thing. You've got to do everything over again. Every single thing. The entire level. All of the things that you collected. Everything. Flick all the switches. Collect all of the power-ups. All of the gems. And my critique of this was that it just feels a little bit paddy. You know, it could be that the game isn't very long. I don't know how long the game is. I haven't checked with anybody or anything. But yeah, it does take away control from me there for whatever reason. Oh. Some of the lasers last for longer than you kind of expect them to. Oh, I'm out of gems. Oh. Well, I need to hit this switch anyway. Let's go down. Don't get me wrong, I like that you can go through lasers with the dash mechanic. I think that's cool. But already by this point, the gameplay is... it's a little imprecise. And it feels like it needs just a little bit more. A little bit more to do. A little bit fewer niggles. Can't get through there. Can get through here. And again, that just dropped me. See, that locks me in place. But that just let me jump all the way over to the left. It needs to lock us in place and give us invincibility just while that camera is panning, and maybe for, you know, a half a second before or after, just to make sure that something bad doesn't happen. Yeah, there's a laser there, which is horrible laser placement for a game with insta-kill lasers. Feels very unfair. And again, insta-kill lasers aren't necessarily... they're not necessarily the big problem. It's the fact that you have to do everything all over again that is the problem. You know, that's what feels bad. You know, if you want all these collectibles... and why does it not save that you've got these? That's not hard to do. I know that's not hard to do, because in what little game development I've done, I've managed to do it with a really basic tutorial. So it has to be intentional. And unfortunately, it doesn't feel good. Oh, feck off! And there, there is my biggest critique of this game. All in one neat little package. Taking control of the camera away, but not locking the character into place, insta-kill lasers, and completely reset levels upon death. What level have I made it to? 3-4, so slightly earlier, actually, than level 3-5 that I got to get to the same level of irritation with what is going on. So, my thoughts actually haven't changed. The things that irritated me before are still irritating me. It just, previously, as you've seen, hopefully from the overlaid footage, one of the issues before was how snappily the camera moved to you with a slightly less locked frame rate, and that was annoying, but it wasn't game breaking. The other issues that I've just mentioned are exactly the same as they were before. Those are game design choices, or yeah, they've got to be choices, and they are frustrating. Instant kill lasers combined with complete room resets feels like it's wasting your time. And if a game feels like it's wasting your time, it's usually doing it for one reason, or possibly two. One, the mechanics are just poorly thought out. Or two, the game isn't very long and it's padding itself. Now, this is a small indie title retailing at a tenner, with actually a discount for launch. So it's not an expensive game, so you're not supposed to be getting huge amounts of time out of it. But I feel like a lot of the time that I might get in this, a lot of the time that I might get in this game is more due to the almost padding nature of the insta-kill lasers versus complete room resets, rather than an enjoyable challenge. And taking control away, no, taking the camera away from you, but letting you retain control, and basically letting you die like we did there, pretty much off screen. That's one of gaming's sins, and that should not happen, in my opinion. After 30 years of gaming, that is something that just butters me the wrong way. So, obviously, I think I said this at the start, I backed this game on Kickstarter. You know, I paid for this game with whatever Kickstarter pledge. I think it was maybe 13 quid. So I think I've actually paid a bit more than the game was released at. And my name will be in the credits. I don't know whether I'm ever going to get to see them, because the game is frustrating. It's not challenging. It's not a hard game. My niggles are with the design of it. Now, if the developer watches this video and takes on board this feedback, I think it will be a really fun experience. You know, have lasers wipe off half your health or something. But please, please, if you take control of the camera away from us, pause the world, make us invincible or something. Lock us in place. Because if something like that happens where we die when we can barely even see ourselves, and it's disorienting having the camera taken away from us and still being able to move. And that feels bad. Very bad. But otherwise, I like the graphics. I like the premise now that I know a little bit more about the premise. It would be nice if the opening cutscene that you saw right at the start played upon hitting new game as well, so you get that little bit of context should you have already skipped it. My biggest critique, my biggest overall thought of the game by level 3-5, admittedly, which is the next one after this, so it's not much further ahead, is that the systems in place were a little bit basic. You know, after 40 minutes or so, we've got a single ability. We can carry slightly more gems, and that's it. It feels like it needs a little bit more. Now, maybe there's a boss at the end of World 3, that will give us a new ability. Don't know. But it feels a little bit bare. But very pretty. Clearly wears its kind of Metroid doors on its sleeve for inspiration. I quite like the little plunger socket switch puzzle things. The issue is having to do every single one of them over and over and over again anytime you die. It kills the exploration aspect of the game entirely. If you're gonna have insta-kill lasers, fine. Save everything that has been done in terms of unlocks so you don't need to do it all over again. Otherwise, have the lasers do damage. That's what it comes down to. It's like you're trying to have your cake and eat it when it comes to adding extra game time, and that feels bad. I hope you've enjoyed this second first impressions video, such as it is, of Moon Raider. Still a decent little game, just got some frustrations that I think could realistically do with ironing out. Make sure you cap your game to 60 FPS because it does make a difference in how it feels in regards to the camera. But otherwise, enjoy. It's not an expensive game. It's just got a few minor niggles with design that I personally disagree with. You know, opinions are opinions, man. Everybody's got one. Until next time, folks, thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Stay safe out there. I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good day. Cheerio.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.